What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel and now welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed unless, of course, your taste level is lacking, baby. Everybody is not able, okay? Not everyone is able. To the rest of you, hi, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Y'all, are y'all ready for Thanksgiving? Why Sharon called me yesterday talking about what I'm cooking for Thanksgiving? Girl, I'm bringing the vibes, okay? And then I told her Bella misses her grandma, so I was gonna bring her by this weekend to see her. And she told me not to come over her house without peppers and sweet potatoes from our garden. Like, girl, how you gonna tax me to see your grandchild? These parents they really are getting out of control. Like, the older they get, the more out of control they become. While my children are being quiet, let me go ahead and get into the things regarding today's case. So this couple, Jacqueline and Shabazz, they met in high school and were lovebirds. In 2008, Jacqueline becomes pregnant. Now, Sal wants to do what he considers to be the right thing, which is marry her and make them this official family unit. He also wants to be able to provide for his wife and his child. So he proposes and then he joins the military, the army specifically. Now, their first child is a girl, and within the span of their marriage, they're going to have 3 more girls. He stays in the military for his 4-year enlistment, but decides not to re-enlist afterward, and then they relocate and settle down in Newport News, Virginia. Up until that point, Jacquie had been a stay-at-home mom. She had been at home taking care of all of these girls, but at this time, she decides to go work outside the house so they can have dual income coming in, and she gets a job down to the post office, and there she becomes acquainted with Tashara Jackson, who is also a mail carrier. Now, there's also Chris Carter that she meets there, and Jacquie and Chris, they start to flirt a little bit. In the beginning, it definitely gave like work husband. Each chance that they get, the two of them are talking, they are flirting, and that evolves into them having lunch outings. And these lunch outings become an everyday occurrence. And over time, the two of them are realizing that despite them both being married, they got a little liking for one another. And because Jacquie is a mail carrier, it doesn't allow for them to spend a whole lot of time together at the job. So they start hanging out outside of the job. And Chris Carter is the husband of Tashara Jackson's best friend. She is seeing how much they flirt, how much they hang out, and she is not liking it. Tashara sees this as very disrespectful to her friend because they make no attempts to really hide their relationship. Everybody knows about it and they really don't care because to them, this is their business and nobody else's. Now, fast forward to 2020, the U.S. Postal Service, they throw this Christmas party for the employees. And during this party, Chris and Jacqueline are very much given couple. They are very flirty. And by now, Tashara has really grown to loathe both of them. Chris's wife has become aware, of course, of this affair. It has presented a lot of issues in their relationship, and Tashara, being her best friend, has front row seats to the chaos and the mess. She gets to see firsthand what his relationship with Jacquie is doing to his marriage. She makes it very obvious and known that she does not like Jacqueline, does not care for her at all. She takes every opportunity that she can to throw the girl shade. And when Chris's wife comes to know exactly who the mistress is, first and last name, it is very obvious who gave his wife that tidbit of information, which I don't know what he expected. And now, because Tashara is making things a bit more messy for Jacquie, she grows not to like Tashara either. The feelings of disdain are very mutual between the women. And not only is Tashara's best friend brought into the loop, Sal, Jackie's husband, is also made aware of this affair that is going on with Chris at his wife's job. And when that happens, baby, Jacquie becomes really mad because, girl, why are you telling my business? When Sal finds out about his wife's affair, he does confront her. He also confides in his sister and his mother about his knowledge of his wife's infidelity, but he has plans to try to make it work for the girls. He decides to forgive her and work through it, and that's what they agreed upon. But even though Jacquie promises to cut ties with Chris, cut off the affair, and work toward her marriage, she continues to see Chris just as frequently. And because the two of them have decided to carry on their affair, despite their respective partners finding out, the drama at work just completely ramps up. And things escalate beyond them exchanging dirty looks and talking about each other behind their backs. Now, according to Tashara, someone begins tampering with her mail, messing up her work things and making the start of her shift a lot more difficult than it needed to be. And here's the thing about the ladies. According to people who know both of them, neither of them are the type to just sit back and be bullied or messed with. They very much both give tit for tat, eye for an eye, okay? They are somewhat alike in that aspect. Tashara confronts Jacquie, accusing her of tampering with her mail, which leads to an argument between the two on the job, and they have several arguments where both of them threaten to catch the other one outside. Despite all of this chaos and toxicity, nobody really expects things to escalate in the way that they do. One day they're having one of their disagreements, their arguments, and Jacqueline pushes Tashara. Now Tashara decides that she's gonna play chess and go down to HR. And not only did she report it to HR, she also files a police report. So at this point, the job has no choice but to either fire the ladies or separate them. And they decide to separate them, changing their routes completely so the two wouldn't even have to see each other. And at this point, Tashara is so irritated with all of the things, she decides to put in a transfer for another position that is in Jacksonville, Florida. The work environment had just become way too toxic for her. Now you have coworkers that have chosen sides, so it's not just the two ladies receiving bad vibes and dirty looks from one another. And it is Tashara's hope that her transfer request is approved and approved quickly so she can just go. Unfortunately, them being separated has not put a button on the shenanigans. The shenanigans are still going on, and so is the affair. Meanwhile, Sal, who believes he is on his merry way to piecing his marriage back together, is also planning to take his wife, Jacquie, to Vegas for her birthday. And this is in April of 21. And ladies, y'all know how we do. Before we go out of town, we have to buy a new outfit, as if the people we're gonna see out of town has seen any of the outfits we have at home. We also like to get our nails done and our hair done and all of the things. Well, the day before they are set to leave, Jacquie goes to the nail salon to get her nails and feet done. And she posts her location to her Facebook page. Now, as she is finishing up her appointment and getting ready to walk out, lo and behold, in walks Tashara. So Jacquie is like, what's up, girl? Because if you think your mere presence is gonna scare me, it is not. Like, do you want to step outside and fight? She invites Tashara to throw fisticuffs in the parking lot. But Tashara is like, girl, I didn't come here to fight you. And she proceeds to sit down like she just came there to be serviced. I don't know if she, like Jacquie says, saw her location on Facebook and decided to come out there and fight or intimidate her, or if it was a coincidence. Whatever the case may be, Tashara declines her invitation to fight and she takes a seat to be serviced. Jacquie walks out, but then a couple minutes later, a strange woman comes into the shop asking if this particular car belongs to anyone in the shop because somebody is out there slashing a tire. The car is Tashara's, and by the time she gets outside, honey, Jacquie is well on her way home to proceed to pack for her trip. And while she is at home packing for said trip, her cell phone rings and it is Chris Carter, her side piece. And Chris warns her or tells her that Tashara knows her address and is aware that she will be going out of town with her husband, which she could have gotten that information from the job since, of course, Jacquie would have had to have taken vacation for it. Nevertheless, however she knows, she knows. Jacquie is like, okay, noted, but she's not too concerned. She continues to pack her things. They drop the girls off with a family member and get on their flight and they go to Vegas. And during this trip to Vegas, Jacquie and Chris, they're in constant communication. They're texting the entire time. During the trip, she texted him she never knew she could be so in love with someone, and she tells Chris that she's just still with her husband because it's convenient right now and one day they'll be together. She also promises Chris that she is not going to be intimate with her husband the whole trip because she belongs to him. When Sal and Jacqueline return home from their trip, they stop and they get the girls, and they appear to have had a very good time. They were all smiles and only had good things to say about their time away. Child, but when they pull up to their house with them girls in the backseat, that smile completely depletes, okay? Because Jacquie's car has been vandalized. Her white car has whore spray painted in red on the side of it. There's also a candy bar that has been jammed into the gas tank, and multiple tires are slashed. And it's very obvious who is behind that. Tashara had clearly gotten her lick back. And I just don't know why she would vandalize Tashara's car and leave hers outside, especially after her side piece let her know that Tashara knew where she lived and that they were going to be out of town. Knowing that it was Tashara and nobody else, Jacquie sends Tashara messages on Facebook Messenger saying, LOL, don't leave Newport News yet, referencing, of course, her putting in the transfer to go to Florida. She then says, it's obvious that you cut my tires while I was out of town. Smart. And then she tries to call her via Facebook Messenger, and Tashara does not answer. This is April 5th of 2021, and Tashara's request for transfer has been approved. So she decides to have a nice going away party at her favorite restaurant. Harpoon Larry's is a seafood restaurant, and because Tashara's best friend is Chris's wife, he is privy to the information because, of course, he's been invited with his wife to attend. He tells Jacquie about the party, the date, and the time that they'll be there. And when the day comes, Jacquie has her husband Sal drive her there. And this is April 6th, the day after they've come home to her car being towed up. Tashara has invited a lot of her friends, co-workers, some family members. It's gonna be a good time. At least that's what she thought. Tashara pulls up to the restaurant with a male friend of hers in the passenger seat and her kid in the back. And as she is getting her son out of the back of the car, another car pulls up alongside theirs. Now, the friend said he didn't really think much of it because he knew people were meeting them there. He figured it might have been a familiar face, you know, one of the guests that spotted Tashara and decided to park near. But next thing he knows, he hears some commotion. He looks up and Tashara and another woman are tussling. It's Jacquie. So friend gets out of the car, he goes around, and his intention is to break up the fight, separate the two ladies. But Sal gets out of the car with a taser and threatens him not to break it up. He's like, just let the ladies fight, let them fight, get it off their chest. The friend tries to break it up anyway. Sal attempts to tase him. Meanwhile, there's a crowd gathering around the women because Tashara's guests are arriving. There are other patrons of the restaurant that are like, whoa, what's going on? And everybody is just standing around watching it because Sal is there with his taser child, threatening to fry anybody who gets involved. And then Tashara starts yelling to her friend to get her gun out of her car. So at that point, Sal and Jacquie scream. They vacate the premises. Tashara gets up, dusts herself off, and she is pissed because, girl, not in front of my partygoers and my baby. Now, she does go into the restaurant, try her best to get herself together physically, and she goes through with the dinner because so many people have been invited. So she goes through with it, even though her day has been completely ruined. And she is so upset at this dinner that she doesn't have a meal nor a drink. She is just seething and thinking about what just happened. All that is on her mind at this point is how to up the score and get her lick back. And Jacquie, well, she knows well enough that Tashara is coming with something. So she decides to take her girls and go spend the night in a hotel. Of course, she knows that Miss Girl knows her address, and she expects her to strike back. Sal, however, does not want to spend the night at a hotel. He does go to take the girls some things that he thought they may need or want to entertain themselves in the hotel. He spends some time there with his family, but when it gets late, he decides that he's gonna go home. He wants to sleep in his own bed. He said he was not afraid and he was not about to spend the night in a hotel hiding out from Tashara. She tells him to stay there, but there was no convincing Sal. He was headed home. He leaves the hotel, stops and gets him something to eat. He stops at a 7-Eleven and he makes it home in the 1 o'clock hour. And he is on the phone with Jacquie. He's awake, she's awake, and she wants to make sure, you know, he got home safe and nothing is going on. By this time, it's around 2 a.m. They're talking. And then Sal hears a knock at the front door. Jacquie warns him not to open the door. She was like, it's 2 a.m. Nothing good could come from it. He goes to the door anyway and he opens it, and there's a male there who asks for Charles. He says Charles does not live here, and then the person just starts letting off shots. And Jacquie is still on the phone, so she hears the entire thing. She immediately dials 911 and she tells them what had just happened. She also grabs her keys and floors it to their home. Officers arrive at the scene within 4 minutes of her calling 911. They arrive at approximately 2:16 a.m. They knock on the door. There is no answer. They go to open the door. It's unlocked, but Sal's body is laying against it on the inside. So they have to push it open to get in. And as they're doing that, Jacquie pulls up. hysterical. Sal had been hit 4 times between the head and the torso, and his injuries, unfortunately, are fatal. She tells these officers again that she was on the phone when it happened. She heard a male's voice that she was sure was not Sal's. She also tells them about the fight that happened earlier and all of this drama that has transpired and unfolded between her and her coworker, and how even though this was a male's voice that she heard, she believes it to be the work of Tashara. Investigators begin to look into Miss Tashara, starting with her cell phone records and specifically surrounding the time of the crime. And the first thing that sticks out to them is the fact that on the night of, her phone was turned off, and the very next day she got her phone number changed, which is the same day that she planned on setting off to move to Florida. And in the days preceding, she had made several lengthy phone calls to that male friend of hers that was at the restaurant the day that she fought Jacquie. Now, his name is Stefan, and he works at a shipyard. Now, Stefan goes to work this morning, which is hours after Sal had been shot, and his badge don't work. And that's because the homicide unit, child, they are after him. They need to have a little chat. He's very cooperative. He goes down to the station with them. He says, though, that he wasn't even aware of what happened to Sal until this very moment. So he's insisting that he had nothing to do with any of the things, and that he and Tashara, they speak regularly. They're good friends. So despite what it looked like, they had not talked about any of the things during their phone calls. And initially, detectives are not quite convinced, but his alibi is rock solid. So they have no choice but to clear him of suspicion. So they revisit Tashara's phone records and they zero in on this phone number that called her the night of, right before the shooting happened. And this call had come in from Jeremy Petway, who is a mutual co-worker of Tashara and Jacquie. They're able to get Jeremy's cell phone data, including his locations. And just about an hour before 2 a.m., his location moves from his home to an elementary school just a few blocks away from the Shabazz household. It sits there for a while. He then makes a 26-minute phone call to Tashara, and according to the history of her location from her cell phone data, she pulls up to where Jeremy is just after 2 a.m. Their phone locations begin moving together in the direction of the Shabazz house, and right before they reach it, just less than 2 miles down the road from the house, both phones are either powered off or put into airplane mode, and this happens within a minute of one another. And at that point, both of their locations completely drop and are no longer able to be traced past that point. As fate would have it, Jeremy just so happens to live next door to a police officer with a Ring doorbell, who gladly retrieves his footage from that night and turns it over to investigators. And it shows Jeremy leaving his house at approximately 1:41 a.m. on foot, and detectives are able to get their hands on the surveillance footage from other homes and businesses in the direction that he walks, which is toward the elementary school. So they're able to collect footage following his whole little commute. And here he is standing outside of the elementary school alongside the street. It is also visible to them that he is on the phone during this walk. This little walk of his in the middle of the night matches up perfectly with the time that he was on the phone with Tashara for 26 minutes. He stands there for a while, and then you can see an SUV pull up, but pass him on the street. It goes down the street, makes a U-turn, comes back, and picks him up. And this SUV is Tashara's. At the time that they see him getting into the back seat, it's the exact time that the call ends with Tashara. And with this, they have enough probable cause to secure a search warrant of Jeremy Petway's home. They go in, they give a thorough look around, but they don't find anything incriminating. However, this search does spark a new conversation between their two suspects, because he texts Tashara and tells her that his house had been searched and that they were in there looking under the bed as if he was lazy enough to stash the weapon under his own bed. He also tells her that they are Bonnie and Clyde forever. And in this conversation, he ends up texting her the actual location of the gun. Now, mind you, they are watching these cell phones like a hawk. So they go to the location and they find the weapon. And then they go around there and they collect Jeremy too. He is placed under arrest. Now, just as Tashara had planned, she had left that morning to go to Florida. She was in Jacksonville ready to start her new position and her new life when she gets a call from her friend Stefan letting her know that she is wanted for homicide and that it is likely in her best interest to return home and turn herself in. This call was actually made at the request of the detectives. They reached out to Stefan again and asked him, with them being so close, if he would try to convince her to return home. Child, I ain't gonna hold you. I would have been like, baby, do your job. Y'all gotta go get my friend. No, I'm playing. I ain't playing. 3 weeks later, Tashara returns to Virginia and she is very quickly taken into custody. She and Jeremy are both charged with murder in the first degree, and each of them are found guilty. And Bonnie and Clyde receive matching sentences of 39 years in prison. And since both of them have started the appeal process, just do your time, baby. Just do the time, okay? I want to know y'all's thoughts. Y'all, I ain't gonna hold you. I did, and I do wonder whether or not Jacquie really saw this as a loss. She clearly did not want to be with him and was in love with Chris, and I just wonder if she... Child, never mind. Y'all let me know y'all's thoughts down below and we'll chat. Comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not. As always, I appreciate you guys so much for spending your valuable time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace, and have a good weekend, y'all. Please be safe. What is up, my YouTube? Oh, what was that? What? Have I spoken today? The Army specifically. Now, their first girl, no. And now Tashara, okay. Tashara Jackson is amongst those new employees. No, she's not an employee. She's a coworker, baby. Here come Bella. Don't come here bothering me, girl. I ain't picky. You go get shots tomorrow and you are not gonna be happy about that, but you know, mommy gotta do what she gotta do for her young. I love you, but you gotta get down. And by now, child, this is too much foundation. And it is Tashara's hope that her transfer request is approved, girl. So investigators begin looking into I can tell you're lying, cause when you're replying, and the times of this video, okay.